Good day everyone, especially to you sir. First of all, I will introduce myself first. I am Kenneth P. Divinagasio, a base cream student. So, for today's topic, I will discuss the chapter 6, which is drugs. So, what is drugs? So, drug defined as a chemical substance that brings about physical, psychological, behavioral, and or psychological change in a person taking it. So all medicines are drugs, but not all drugs are medicine drug. So it means that not all the drug are medicine. Some of it is illegal. So next is medical drugs. A substance which when take into the human body cures illness and or relieves signs, symptoms of disease. Next is dangerous drugs. A substance affecting the central nervous system which when taken into the human body brings about physical, emotional, or behavioral changes in a person taking it. Drug abuse. Any non-medical use of drugs that cause physical, psychological, legal, economic, or social damage to the user or to people affected by the user's behavior. Abuse usually refers to illegal drugs but may also be applicable to drugs that are available legally, such as prescribed medications and certain over-the-counter medications. So this is the classification of drugs according to origin. Natural drugs are active ingredients, secondary metabolic products of plants and other living system that may isolated by extraction. And this is the example of the natural drugs, which is the raw opium. Second is marijuana. And third is coca bush. Synthetic drugs. Synthetic drugs are artificially produced substances synthesized in the laboratory for the illicit market, which are almost wholly manufactured from chemical compounds in illicit laboratories. So this is the example. Methamphetamine. Methamphetamine is a potent central nervous system stimulant that is mainly used as a recreational drug and less commonly as a second-line treatment for attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and obesity. Next is barbiturates, are a group of drugs in the class of drugs known as sedative hypnotics, which generally describes their sleep-inducing and anxiety-decreasing effects. Barbiturates can be extremely dangerous because the correct dose is difficult to predict. Even a slight overdose can cause coma or death. According to legal classification, RE 9165 Comprehensive Dangerous Drug Act of 2002, PD 1619 Volatile Substances, RA 6425 classified as regulated and prohibited. So under Republic Act 9165, otherwise known as the Comprehensive Dangerous Drugs Act of 2002. The term prohibited and regulated was changed into dangerous drug with the following classification. Number 1. Immediate precursors. A chemical substance used in the clandestine manufacturing process becomes incorporated in full, in part, into the final molecules of a substance under international control. Number 2. Essential chemicals. Chemical substance used as reagent or solvent in the illegal manufacture of controlled substances. Number 3 is narcotic, psychotropic, and designer. So according to international classification, A is narcotic substances, B psychotropic substances, and C is designer drugs. According to pharmacological classification, effects, E stimulants, B is hallucinogens, C is depressants, and D is inhalants. Next is stimulants. Stimulants are drugs which increase alertness of physical disposition. Sample is amphetamine. Street name, eye opener, lead, popper, pip pills, uppers, hearts. Reduces appetite, relieves mental depression, comfort, fatigue, and sleepiness. So how taken? Orally as tablet or capsule. So this is the effects. Wakefulness, increased alertness or initiative. So toxic from wakefulness to coma and death. And the dangers is dependence, overdose, violent or bizarre behavior. An example is shabu, which is methamphetamine hydrochloride. Poor man's cocaine is shabs, ubas, siupaw, sha ice. White odorless crystalline powder with a bitter numbing taste. So how taken? Ingestion, inhalation, chasing the dragon, sniffing, injection, smoke. And the effects is anxiety, irritability, irrational behavior. So long term, psychosis similar to schizophrenia, difficulty in concentrating, loss of interest in sex. And the physical is chest pain, irregular heartbeat, hypertension, convulsion, and death. And the dangers is injection from contaminated needles may lead to risk of infections, pilibits, septicemia, AIDS, and etc. So number 9 is hallucinogens. Hallucinogens are drugs which affect sensation, thinking, self-awareness, and emotion. So next is, this is the changes in time and space perception, delusions, false beliefs, and hallucinations may be mild or overwhelming depending on dose and quality of drugs. So example, ecstasy, Street name XTC Adam Essence E Herbals. So how taken? Swallowing or inhalation. And the effects is exaggerated emotions, makes HR and BP hike up, dries the mouth, stiffens arms, legs, jaw, dilates pupils of the eyes, causes faintness, chills, sweating, and nausea. So the dangers is it can really kill. Example, LSD or the lysergic acid diethylamide. State name, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, Wedding Bells, Acid, White Sugar, Lightning, Cubes, Brain Eaters. So what is it? As a semi-synthetic alkaloid substance extracted from a fungus which grows on rye, wheat, and other grains. Odorless, tasteless, colorless. And the effects is psychological, vivid, hallucinations, confusion, blurring, and distinction between conscious and unconscious thought, and etc. Physical, deleted, pupils, flash, face, increase, BP, and etc. And the danger may cause abnormal amount of breakage of chromosomes of WPCs and carry genes which may result to miscarriages and birth defects. And next example is marijuana. Street name, Flower, Pampapugi, Browinase, Damu, Poti, Joint, and Dope. So what is it? Comes from Cabanis, Sativa, Ale, Indian hemp, looks like fine green tobacco. So how taken? Smoke in pipes, cigarettes can be taken in food, made into candy, snuff, in powder, for mixed with honey or butter. And the effects: immediate faster heartbeat, bloodshot eyes, dry mouth. Long term, chest pain, temporary, loss of fertility, cancer, marijuana, burnout. And the dangers is slow down users' mental and psychomotor activities. Long term use may lead to psychological dependence, may lead to cancer. So next is depressants. Depressants are drugs which depress or lower the functions of the central nervous system. And this is the types of depressants. Narcotics, a drug which induces sleep, hypnosis, or stupor, are relief pain analgesics. Something that soothes or causes a sensation of mental numbness. This includes opium, opiates, heroin, morphine, and codeine. So next is tranquilizers, a substance that reduces anxiety, ease tension, and relax muscles. So this tranquilizer is anxiety reliever and relax for the muscles. So next is sedatives and hypnotics. So sedatives and hypnotics calm the nerves, reduce tension, induce sleep. So example is barbiturates, alcohol. Next is inhalants. These are any liquid, solid, or mixed substance that has the property of releasing toxic, psychoactive vapors or fumes. So example is solvent, glue, gasoline, kerosene, pentiner, naphthalene. So what are considered dangerous drugs? Dangerous drug is a substance affecting the central nervous system which when taken into the human body brings about physical, emotional, or behavioral changes in a person taking it. It is a substance which, when taken into the human body, alters mood, perception, feelings, and behavior. So, under Republic Act of 6425, otherwise known as the Dangerous Drugs Act of 1972, dangerous drugs are classified into three main categories, namely, which is A is prohibited drugs, B is regulated drugs, and C is volatile substances. So A is prohibited drug, which includes opium and its active components and derivatives such as heroin and morphine, coca leaf and its derivatives, principally cocaine, alpha and beta cocaine, hallucinogenic drugs such as mescaline, lysergic acid, diethylamide or the LSD, and other substances producing similar effects. Ingent hemp and its derivatives, all preparations made from any of the foregoing, and other drugs and chemical preparations, whether natural or synthetic, with the psychological effects of a narcotic or a hallucinogenic drug, as amended by BP 179 dated March 2, 1982. So, regulated drugs, which includes self-inducing sedatives such as secobarbital, phenobarbital, pentobarbital, barbital, amobarbital, and any other drug which contains assault or derivative of assault or barbicatic amphetamine such as benzedrine or dexedrine or any amphetamine, and hypnotic drugs such as methaqualone, nitrazepam, or any compound producing similar psychological effects as amended by PD number 1683 dated March 14, 1980. So C is volatile substance, which is liquid, solid, or mixed substances having the property of releasing toxic vapors or fumes, or any chemical substance which, when sniffed, smelled, inhaled, or introduced into psychological system, of the body induce a condition of intoxication, inebriation, incitement into putrefaction, and etc. Republic Act 9165, otherwise known as the Dangerous Drugs of 2002, gives the single definition for prohibited and regulated drugs. The old law defines the term dangerous drugs as pertaining to either drug dependence, means a state of psychic or physical dependence, or both, on a dangerous drug arising in a person following administration or use of that drug on periodic or continuous basis. Characteristic of drug dependency. Number 1 is physical dependence. The body's physical system changes until the body needs that particular drug in order to function. Number 2 is mental or psychological dependence. A need of drug in order to feel good, to get by, or feel normal. Number 3 is idiosyncrasy or side effect. Use refers to the act of injecting intravenously or intramuscularly, or of consuming either by chewing, smoking, sniffing, eating, swallowing, drinking, or otherwise introducing into the psychological system of the body any of the dangerous drugs. So sale means that acts of giving a dangerous drug, whether for money or any other material consideration. So question is, what happens to confiscated, seized, and surrendered dangerous drugs, plant sources of dangerous drugs, control precursors, and essential chemicals, instruments, paraphernalia, and or laboratory equipment? So the answer is the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency, or the PDEA, shall have custody of all dangerous drugs, plants, sources of dangerous drugs, controlled precursors, and essential chemicals, as well as instruments, paraphernalia, and or laboratory equipment that are confiscated, seized, or surrendered. The apprehending team of the group in custody of the confiscated drugs shall immediately prepare an inventory and photograph the items in the presence of the accused or his counsel, a representative from the media, and the Department of the Justice, or the DOJ, and any elected public official. The items will then be submitted to the PDEA forensic laboratory for examination within 24 hours after receipt of the item. The forensic laboratory examiner shall issue a certification of the laboratory results. The court shall conduct an ocular inspection of the confiscated items within 72 hours. After the filing of the criminal case, the PDEA shall then destroy or burn the items in the presence of the accused. A representative from media o DOG, civil society groups, and any elected official. However, a representative sample shall be retained. After the judgment has been rendered in the criminal case, the trial prosecutor shall inform the dangerous drugs board that case has been terminated and asks permission for the court to turn the representative sample to the PDEA. So next topic is Chapter 7, which is the examination of dangerous drugs. So, drug testing is a form of forensic testing. Drug test results issued should be scientifically, legally, and forensically defensible. So, what is the drug identification? So, it's a branch of forensic chemistry that deals with the scientific examination of the drugs and volatile substances. So, drug identification is usually conducted by a forensic chemist or chemical officer to determine the presence of dangerous drugs on submitted specimens. So, the forensic chemist or chemical officer also conduct drug test on body fluids of suspected drug pushers and users to determine the presence of dangerous drug metabolites. Paraphernalia like smoking pipes, toters, and aluminum fuels should also be submitted for examination for determine the presence of dangerous drugs. So, forms of dangerous drugs. So, drugs are various forms. So, this includes tablets like capsules, liquid powder, bricks or discs of marijuana, crush leaves, and uprooted plants. So, examination of the sample taken from the alleged confiscated dangerous drugs. So, methods of examination. Number 1, qualitative examination. Number 2, quantitative examination. So, steps common to qualitative and quantitative methods, which is number 1, selection of method to be used. Number 2, physical test. Number 3, sampling. Number 4, sample preparation. Number 5, chemical test. Number 6, confirmatory examination. Number 7, calculation and interpretation of dates. And last, number 8 is drawing of conclusion and writing report. So, the two pieces in the examination of the alleged confiscated dangerous drugs. So, number 1, screening test or preliminary test, also known as the color test. This test is non-specific and preliminary in nature. It is employed to reduce the family of group of drug to a small and manageable number. Screening test includes a series of color tests producing characteristics colors for each family or group of drugs. This is done by adding specific reagent to unknown sample in spot plate. Screening test is quite simple to perform even by investigators in the field. As a matter of fact, field tests using these techniques are being taught in narcotics investigation courses. Test reagents and basic apparatus and commercially available. So, color reactions. Upon addition of specific reagents to a sample of dangerous drugs, a specific color reaction is produced, such as cannabis, which is Doquinus 11 equal violet, fast blue B salt equal purple red. So cocaine, Cobat thiocyanate test or CT test equal blue. Scott test modified CT test reagent 1 equal blue. So reagent 2 equal pink, and the reagent 3 is equal blue. So Wagner test brown. Specific test of cocaine. Diazepam Zimmermann test equal reddish purple or pink. Some benzonapine derivative do not give color with this test. So let's jump to note. So it must be noted that positive results of this test are not conclusive, as there are substances that may give same positive color reactions upon addition of the specific reagents. Hence, confirmatory tests must be performed by the forensic chemist or the chemical officer. On case to establish the presence and identification of dangerous drug, it must also be noted that only those specimens that yielded presumptive positive results are subject to confirmatory test in order to confirm in the positive result of the screening test is really positive. So number 2 is confirmatory test. Confirmatory test is the method employed to confirm the results of the screening preliminary test. This test involves the application of an analytical procedure to identify the presence of a specific drug or metabolites. This is independent of the screening test and which uses techniques and chemical principles different from that the initial test in order to ensure reliability and accuracy. So, chromatography is the process. What is chromatography? So, chromatography is the process of separating mixture and comparing the migration of each component with standard. Some chromatographic techniques include gas chromatography, thin layer chromatography, high pressure liquid chromatography. And what is gas chromatography? So it is a separate technique. The mobile space is a gas, and separation is based on the difference in migration rates among sample components. So what is spectroscopy? So a confirmatory method whereby light is used to identify the sample specimen. So what is FIRE, or the transfer infrared spectroscopy? Used for the identification of pure organic substances, identifies organic substances, particularly dangerous drugs and explosive ingredients based on their characteristics. Functional groups. In layman's term, the resulting spectrum could be referred to as the fingerprints of the substance. So ultraviolet visible spectroscopy used for screening of dangerous drugs in urine specimen. So examination of the urine specimen, the rate of excretion from the body depends on the drug's solubility in fat water-soluble drugs such as cocaine are excreted quickly, while fat-soluble drugs such as marijuana may take several weeks or months before excretion. Drug tests must be conducted to apprehended individuals who is suspected to be a user and to those with the offenses illegal use of dangerous drugs. So, validity test for urine specimen. So, validity test is conducted to determine the integrity of the samples. So, reasons for conducting validity test is in cases of an observed urine collection, when there is suspicion that the urine specimen has been tempered. Substances when to allow unobserved urine specimen collection, when donor is physically unable to go to laboratory, when donor is involved in crime scene, when donor involved in post-accident trauma, when donor is critically. So what is the different types of tampered urine specimen? So there are three types of tampered urine specimen, which is first is adulterated. A specimen containing either a substance that is not a normal constituent for that type of specimen, or containing an endogenous substances at a concentration that is not a normal psychological concentration. B is diluted, refers to a specimen with less than normal psychological constituents. And last is substituted, a specimen which has been derived through switching or replacement of the original sample. So ways to adulterate urine samples. So addition of salt, addition of juice, addition of detergent, addition of bleach and other oxidizing adulterants, and addition of illicit drugs. So ways to substitute of urine sample. So urine from friends or other persons not using drugs may be used substitute specimen. So replace sample with other substance similar to urine in appearance. Ways to dilute a urine specimen. So E is internal dilution. So intake of plenty of water before collection or drinking of herbal. So B is external dilution, addition of water to previously collected urine. So parameters of validity test. So initial validity test, which is the physical characteristics such as color, odor, and etc. Volume, temperature, pH, specific gravity, and nitrites. So the confirmatory validity test, which is the physical characteristics such as color, odor, and etc. Volume, temperature, pH, specific gravity, nitrites, creatinine, oxidizing agents. So other methods of confirmatory validity test, which is physical characteristics visually determined. Volume same as physical characteristics. Temperature using thermometer. pH meter calibrated with appropriate buffers. Specific gravity used as refractometer. So criteria in determining tampered urine specimen. E is adulterated. and B is diluted, and C is substituted. So, when do we consider a urine specimen as invalid? So, a urine specimen is considered invalid under the following circumstances: adulterated, substituted, or diluted, improperly collected, handled, stored, and improperly documented. So, that's all my report, and thank you and God bless. Excrete quickly. While fat-soluble drugs such as marijuana may take several weeks or months before excretion, drug tests must be conducted to apprehended individuals who is suspected to be a user and to those with the offenses illegal use of dangerous drugs. So, validity test for urine specimen. So, validity test is conducted to determine the integrity of the samples. So, reasons for conducting validity test is in cases of unobserved urine collection, when there is suspicion that the urine specimen has been tempered. Substances when to allow unobserved urine specimen collection, when donor is physically unable to go to laboratory, when donor is involved in crime scene, when donor involved in post-accident trauma, when donor is critically. So what is the different types of tampered urine specimen? So there are three types of tampered urine specimen, which is first is adulterated. A specimen containing either a substance that is not a normal constituent for that type of specimen, or containing an endogenous substances at a concentration that is not a normal psychological concentration. B is diluted, refers to a specimen with less than normal psychological constituents. And last is substituted, a specimen which has been derived through switching or replacement of the original sample. So ways to adulterate urine samples. So addition of salt, addition of juice, addition of detergent, addition of bleach, and other oxidizing adulterants, and addition of illicit drugs. So ways to substitute of urine sample. So urine from friends or other persons not using drugs may be used substitute specimen. So replace sample with other substance similar to urine in appearance. Ways to dilute a urine specimen. So E is internal dilution. So intake of plenty of water before collection or drinking of herbal. So B is external dilution, addition of water to previously collected urine. So parameters of validity test. So initial validity test, which is the physical characteristics such as color, odor, and etc. Volume, temperature, pH, specific gravity, and nitrites. So the confirmatory validity test, which is the physical characteristics such as color, odor, and etc. Volume, temperature, pH, specific gravity, nitrites, creatinine, oxidizing agents. So, other methods of confirmatory validity test, which is physical characteristics visually determined. Volume same as physical characteristics, temperature using thermometer, pH meter calibrated with appropriate buffers, specific gravity used as refractometer. So, criteria in determining tampered urine specimen. E is adulterated and B is diluted and C is substituted. So, when do we consider a urine specimen as invalid? So, a urine specimen is considered invalid under the following circumstances: adulterated, substituted, or diluted, improperly collected, handled, stored, and improperly documented. So, that's all my report, and thank you and God bless.